We went into prison young. They came out old. That's not 3 life sentences handed down by a judge. That's how long 3 innocent men spent inside prison cells for crimes they did not commit. They went in young. They came out old. Some came out sick. Some came out with nothing left but time stolen.
As approved a multi-million.
Oklahoma County judge.
Tonight we have an update on
$5 billion to resolve the claim.
It happened on the night of December 30th, 1974. Inside a small liquor store in Edmond, Oklahoma, 2 armed men walked in. At the counter stood Carolyn Sue Rogers, just doing her job. Another customer was there too, Belinda Brown, only 18. The robbery was quick, tense, uncontrolled. As Carolyn Rogers reached for the telephone, trying to call for help, one of the gunmen fired. The bullet struck her in the head. Carolyn Sue Rogers collapsed behind the counter and died where she stood. Belinda Brown was shot too. The bullet tore through her head, but somehow she survived. That single moment turned an ordinary robbery into a murder case, and police needed answers fast. What happened next would decide the fate of a man who wasn't even in the state that night. In the days that followed, detectives weren't just investigating this crime, they were chasing multiple robberies and another double murder. Pressure was building. Then, on February 4th, 1975, 2 more bodies were found in a rural area near Oklahoma City. One suspect confessed, and during questioning, police heard something that caught their attention. A party, weeks earlier, at a house in Oklahoma City. They brought in everyone they could find who had attended, including a 21-year-old man named Glenn Simmons. Belinda Brown, the survivor, was placed in a lineup. She pointed to Glenn Simmons. She said he was one of the robbers. Just like that, the story was written. It didn't matter that Simmons said he was in Louisiana that night playing pool with friends. It didn't matter that 4 witnesses confirmed it. The jury believed the survivor. In July 1975, Glenn Simmons was sentenced to die. Years later, the death sentence would be changed. But the prison doors stayed closed, and the truth stayed outside. The state of Oklahoma kept him behind bars for 48 years, 1 month and 18 days before he walked out of prison in July 2023. Glenn Simmons would spend the rest of his youth, his middle age and nearly all of his life trying to prove that he was never there. And it would take science decades later to finally listen. At 71 years old, with stage 4 liver cancer, the state paid him $7.15 million. But there's no payment for lost youth, no appeal that gives you back time. The night began quietly. In April 1978, inside a small home on South Benton Boulevard in Kansas City, 4 people were inside. John Walker, 20 years old, Sherry Black, 22, Larry Ingram, 21, and Ingram's girlfriend, Cynthia Douglas, just 20 years old. They didn't know they were being watched. 4 men forced their way into the house. The victims were tied up, the rooms were ransacked. Then the violence escalated. John Walker was shot, Sherry Black was shot, Larry Ingram was executed at close range, one by one. Cynthia Douglas was shot in the leg. She fell to the floor and pretended to be dead. She lay there, bleeding, listening as the killers walked around her, waiting for footsteps, waiting for silence. And when it finally came, she crawled out of the house and survived. Her testimony would decide everything. Douglas, then 20, told detectives she could identify 2 of the 4 suspects, Vincent Bell, 21, and Kill Atkins, 19. Both of them pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and served 10 years in prison. The other 2, one had a brown paper bag over his head. The other carried a shotgun and warned her again and again, "Don't look at me." There was no physical evidence, no fingerprints, no DNA. Douglas identified Strickland as another perpetrator, but later recanted her testimony. Yet months later, Kevin Strickland, a teenager with no link to the scene, was arrested. He said he was home watching television. Years later, the witness tried to fix it. She contacted the Innocence Project. She admitted she was wrong, but she died before she could testify in court. Her family confirmed it instead. Kevin Strickland was finally freed in 2021 after 43 years and 4 months behind bars. His words after release were simple. "There's no giving those years back to me. I lost my life." More than 42 years and 4 months behind bars, or 15,487 days. It means Strickland, who was 18 when he was arrested, endured the 7th longest wrongful imprisonment acknowledged in American history. And if you think this was a failure of memory, the next is worse, because the proof existed and was ignored. And here's something most people never think about. While innocent men were sitting in prison for crimes they didn't commit, the real killers were still out there. Some of them didn't just kill once, they kept going. And in our last video, we exposed 3 serial killers whose crimes continued because the system was looking at the wrong man. In 1983, in Inglewood, California, a woman was attacked inside her home. She was sexually assaulted, robbed, and murdered. Her name would fade from headlines, but the biological evidence did not. Police collected a sexual assault kit. Inside it was the truth, but it was never tested. Maurice Hastings was arrested instead. Witnesses said he wasn't there that night. No physical evidence placed him at the scene. Still, prosecutors pushed forward, even seeking the death penalty. The jury spared his life, but sentenced him to life without parole. Inside prison, Hastings kept writing letters. Year after year, he begged for one thing: DNA testing. He wrote,
"The most compelling evidence has not been examined. It will prove I was not the person involved."
The evidence sat untouched for nearly 40 years. Finally, in 2022, science spoke. The DNA did not belong to Maurice Hastings. It belonged to another man, a convicted sex offender of similar appearance, who had died in prison years earlier. Maurice Hastings walked free at 69 years old. The truth had been there all along. And sometimes the system doesn't fail by locking up the wrong person. Sometimes it fails by doing nothing at all. In the 2020s, that silence pushed people to take justice into their own hands, and the revenge was brutal. That's where this story leads next.